Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Careers Week, brought to you proudly by Glad. Hold on, I've got an echo. Is it me? Okay, I'll keep going. Brought to you by Gadsby and Leaply and proudly sponsored by Investec. Please let me know if you can hear an echo so that I can fix it. If it is me. Sorry, Peter, can you hear an echo from your side?
Yes, we can. I'm not sure what is happening. Ladies and gentlemen, just give us 1 minute to sort this out quickly. Um, that is, maybe just mute yourself quickly. I think we've sorted the problem.
Should I try again?
Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. All right, let's try that again. It's 9 a.m. in the morning, so there's bound to be technical issues. Welcome, everyone, to day 2 of Careers Week, brought to you by Gradstar and Leaply and proudly sponsored by Investec. If you missed out on yesterday, first of all, you missed out on a lot, and you should be angry at yourself. We started off with APSA, and they were giving a session on managing your career. Second off, we had Nando's, and they were dealing with what I wish people told me when I started my career. Then we headed over to Bowman's, and they were telling us about the university mindset. And lastly, we ended off the day with PPS, who were telling us how to create a professional personal brand image. Now, remember, you can catch all of these videos and more right here at the Wova app. So make sure you make use of the exhibitors, the community messages, and everything that Wova has to offer. Also, please make sure to post your comments on the Wova chat itself and not in the video chat bar. If you are struggling to see the Wova chat part itself, make sure that you are not on full screen mode. And also make sure to make your phone on portrait mode. I need to introduce myself. I am Alma Akop, aka A Voice to Be Reckoned With, your host with the most. And I'm going to be hosting this session with Momentum, which I am beyond excited about. Firstly, the prizes that you stand to win in this session are just. If I had sound effects, it would be a big sound effect over there. I mean, you've got Whamly interviews up for grabs. You've got Strength Finder assessments, which are worth like a lot of money. Your first investment, new metro tickets. Now, when was the last time you went to the movies since COVID started? Because for me, it's been about COVID's been here for a year. It's been about a year. And I'd love one of those tickets, as well as other multiply hampers. So do stay tuned, be very active here by the chats, because I will be looking, and make sure to ask some great questions as well. I see we're just waiting for a few more people to jump on. So I will take one very quick question about myself. So if you have any questions for me, please do give me one question, so that I can just answer you, and then we will go straight into the session. Anything. Okay, that's a bit scary, but anything. What did you study and how has your career been? Awesome, that I can answer. So I started off with an undergraduate degree of BCom Law, and then my second degree was communications management, and now I'm doing strategic business management. It's always been my dream to be that businesswoman in Africa who has like her own empire, like you know how Virgin Active. That's been my dream as well. And then the communication side of it, I'm just passionate about talking, as you can hear. And also, I was interested in voiceover work. So I have this belief that if you have skills and talent, get a degree to back it up, just so that you can say you are qualified in it as well. All right, I think that was a great answer. Thank you, Alma. What a great answer. It's a pleasure, Alma. And now we're going to head over to the actual reason why we are here today, which is momentum. And I'm so excited to be part of today's discussion, like I said, where we are going to set ourselves up for success, bring our A game, and give our careers a momentum. So from Momentum Investments, I would like to welcome Desiree Kaur. Desiree started her career in 2006 as an HR consultant at Stanlib. In 2012, Desiree completed her MCOM in industrial psychology, and in 2013, registered as an industrial psychologist. Today, she is the divisional executive of human capital at Momentum Investments, as well as Momentum Consult. Desiree is passionate about life and positively impacting others. Desiree, welcome to Careers Week 2021. Desiree, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now you can. Awesome.
Just trying to get my video on. I can see that I can't get it switched on. Peter, I wonder if you guys are there. Allow. Let's see if that has worked. Let's just give it a moment. There we go. I should be on.
We can see you.
Fantastic.
Awesome. If you could just, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, cool. I can't see myself, Alma, but I can see you. So it's a prettier view. So, but Alma, thank you very much for the very nice introduction. We are really excited from Momentum Investments perspective to be part of Careers Week. So I am very, very excited to be here because I am very passionate about students and sharing knowledge. So for me, it's really about making a positive impact so that we can move our country forward. I started my career at Momentum about 8 years ago, and one of the first sessions that I ever attended was to discover my own strengths, and it really changed my life. And I hope that today we can share some knowledge and insights that I've gained over a few years of understanding and working with strengths and sharing knowledge on strengths, so that people can really take that away and set their careers up for success. So for me, today is about sharing personal experiences. It's about sharing some cool theory and also some practical steps on how you can set yourself up for success and bring your A game. So we are not going to do presentations today. We are really only going to share our knowledge so that you can take something away from that. When I started my career many, many years ago, I think as somebody that really worked hard at university, I tried to get the best results, wanted to be the best in class. When I started my first job, I can remember that I always kept on looking at what the top performers were doing, and I tried to mimic it. So if I saw somebody did a great job, I tried to copy and paste what they were doing. I think to my surprise, I realized that I didn't have the same outcome or the same results as they had. And it had me puzzled. So, I mean, I could copy and paste something as they did it, but yet I didn't have the same results. So I want to share today the secret that I discovered post that. And I wish that somebody told this to me earlier in my career so that I could also bring my A game and brought to the table what I had to offer. And I think that was such an important learning for me. But Alma, I'm not here on my own. I brought some friends as part of the discussion. So if you wouldn't mind to introduce the rest of our panel.
Sure thing. Thank you so much for that, Desiree. I think people in the chats are already really excited about the session and discovering their own strengths instead of what they've been told that need to be their strengths. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Carla Pretorius. She was the person that appointed Des at Momentum more than 8 years ago. Carla and Des, however, have known each other for more than 18 years. They met on the first day of their BCom HR degree at the University of Pretoria in 2003. Now, I'm thinking back at the people that I met on the first day, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm hoping that you guys hook me up as well so that I can also have one of these stories. Carla is a public speaker, registered independent industrial psychologist with over 15 years distinguished experience in organizational effectiveness and development. She is a mental toughness coach. Oh, that sounds tough. She is a mental toughness coach that currently coaches one of South Africa's top 3 squash players. She has been acquainted with Clifton Strengths for over 12 years and has coached thousands of people nationally and internationally, assisting them to reach their full potential. She has an immense passion helping individuals, teams, and organizations to grow. Without further ado, Carla, welcome to Careers Week 2021.
I think Carla is frozen. Yes, like Murphy's Law. I mean, Alma, while we wait for Carla, let's introduce Francois so long.
Awesome, let's do it. So Francois is our final panelist, Francois de Wet, and Francois met the Momentum team through Carla, and he is another great example of what you can achieve when you use your strengths. Francois is a registered industrial psychologist as well, and was also coached by Carla on his strengths, and in realizing his strengths, he started his own company called Wamly. I'm really excited for this session and the number of students who will create their own companies just from attending. And without further ado, welcome Francois to Careers Week 2021.
Thank you so much, Alma. I really hope that my video and audio is working. I'm extremely excited to be here to share with you. As Des mentioned, I'm super passionate about students. I think there are so many valuable lessons that we can learn today. So I think these are amazing opportunities for young professionals, passionate professionals to learn, to gain some insights into the world of work, and as Des mentioned, into what makes you unique and what your strengths are. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Alma.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francois. And like I said right at the beginning, we're going to be giving away prizes galore in this session. So I'm just letting you know that we are watching out in the chats for some awesome prizes. We have 5 multiply hampers worth 1,100 Rand for 5 people who have some really great questions and comments. So I will be looking. And yeah, so let's head over straight to Des. Des, can you talk to us about strengths?
Yeah, so while we wait for Carla, so Carla, when you back on, or the tech team here behind me, when Carla's back on, just let us know, then we can give some prizes away. So Alma, if you can keep a lookout on the chat for some nice comments or questions, we will give those 5 multiply hampers away shortly. Let me maybe ask a question, and whoever gets it, the 5 first people who can say something about multiply. So tell me, who is multiply, what do they do, put it on the chat group. Let's see who gets it right and who can share some insight. So you're not allowed to repeat. If somebody has said something that's true, follow it up with something new about multiply. Let's see who knows what about multiply. Oh, Carla, welcome, we see you. There we go. Okay, Carla is back on. Fantastic. Carla, we've done the introductions, so we are just quickly, I'm going to start to just share a little bit about strengths, and then we will hop into where we were. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. So why did we decide to talk about strengths? So I've done a lot of work with leaders, employees, and believe it or not, with students that join us as interns, and every single person have what it takes to be successful. The magic is when you realize what that is, so that you can put it to the task, so that you can drive your success on your journey going forward. So for us today, we really want to help you discover and unlock your strengths and talents, so that you can bring to the table what you've got to offer, and bring your A game. Not somebody else's A game, not Francois' amazing A game or Carla's amazing A game, but your own. So there's some interesting stats that I want to share with you that Gallup has shared in terms of people who work and apply their strengths on a day-to-day basis. So they say people who use their strengths every single day are 3 times more likely to report that they have an excellent quality of life, okay? And I mean, all of us want to have an excellent quality of life. People are 6 times more engaged. So if you are playing in your strength zone, you will be more engaged at work. People are 21% more productive. Now, in organizational terms, that's a lot for you to be more productive than your co-workers, and it definitely shows. And then the absenteeism rate is lower, which is fantastic for employers, of course, so we don't want people's absenteeism rates to be high. People who play in the strength zone enjoy their work. So who do not want to enjoy their work? They treat clients better. So at Momentum Investments, clients are absolutely at the heart of what we do, and we want to make sure that people treat clients well, and therefore we are very big on strengths and people playing to their strengths daily. People who play in with their strengths or can apply their strengths at work also tell their friends around the braai about the amazing company that they work for. So what is great for us is that you then promote our brand as well as an employer, which is great. And lastly, people who use their strengths at work also have better interactions. This also applies to you in your personal relationships. So when you are uplifted and you use your strengths in your day-to-day life, you tend to have better interactions. Yeah, so Alma, maybe we can now hand over some of those multiply hampers, and then we can go to Carla.
Awesome. So I've got the first 5 people who said 5 different things, like you said, because you can't say the same thing again. So these 5 people said 5 distinct things about multiply. The comments have moved up by about 100 comments. I can't find the exact same one, but I did take their names down. So would you like me to just tell you those names?
Yeah, that's perfect, Alma. And those people we just make a little note. So my team here at the back will make notes of who those people are. We need your addresses, and we'll make sure that your 1,100 Rand hamper gets delivered to your home.
Woo, I feel like Oprah. You're getting a hamper. You're getting a hamper. Okay, so first up, we've got Timba Msikinya, who was the first one to answer. Straight after that was Lucia Mkanda. Then it was Letabo Rangwasha, Tandeka Njela, and last but not least, Nontabego Kumalo. But if you have not won something yet, there will be still many opportunities to do so. So keep commenting, keep asking, and keep being excited. Now, Carla, as an internationally Gallup certified strengths coach, what does a talent and a strength mean? And this is a really important question because I've always wondered if it is the exact same thing. And how unique is it? As Des said, knowing and understanding your strengths is what sets you apart from the workplace. So talent, strengths, what's the difference?
Yes, Alma, thank you, and I'm glad to be here. Apologies for that glitch. Alma, our greatest talents are the ways in which we naturally think, feel, and behave. And then with the right investment, you can grow that talent into a strength. And the way we invest is by spending time developing our knowledge. We educate ourselves to gain the knowledge, and then also the skills. And we train ourselves to get the skills. And then with regular practice, we can develop those talents into strengths. So a strength is then the ability to consistently, and this is not only once, this is consistently producing a positive outcome through perfect performance in any specific task that you do. It is what makes you feel strong and you feel powerful, and you almost cannot wait to use that strength again. I'm going to give an example. One of the talents of the Clifton Strengths is called restorative. So if you have the talent called restorative, you will naturally pick up problems, whether it is with processes, with peoples, with system, you pick it up. And if you have the knowledge and the skills, you would want to then solve that problem, and you will be able to solve that problem. And that will then make you exceptional in solving problems. And that is then your strength. Now, the uniqueness is amazing. According to Gallup's Clifton Strengths, the possibility of someone having the same top 5 talents in exactly the same order is 1 out of 33 million, Alma. 33 million. That's how unique we are as human beings. We cannot be put in a box. We're not just a color or a sequence. You are a unique human being.
That is a crazy statistic. I mean, it's just testament to the fact that we really are all individuals, and our uniqueness is what makes us stand out. And so it's important that we find what makes us unique, and tap into that instead of trying to be repetitive of what other people think is impressive. Now, you spoke about Clifton Strengths, which was previously known as Strength Finder, and how it works. So how does it work, rather, and what is it? Because I know that some people are going to be winning some Strength Finder thingies over here. So let us know what Clifton Strengths is all about.
Okay, so the Clifton Strengths explains the unique ways how you accomplish your goals by building relationships, thinking strategically, executing plan, and influencing other people. So the Clifton Strengths identifies not your artistic talents, but a bit more how your brain has been formed. So Alma, I'm going to ask you to run the poll, a poll with 3 questions, and while you run the poll, I'm going to start explaining the two parts of the Clifton Strengths. So for everybody, there's going to be a poll with 3 questions. Answer as honest as possible. And Alma, once you have the results ready, just pop up your hand and you can share the results with us. So the Clifton Strengths consists of 2 parts. You first complete a web-based or an online assessment with a few statements or questions, and that will then indicate your talent. So these questions are based on normal personality, and it's from the perspective of positive psychology. If you don't know positive psychology yet, go and Google it, and it's really amazing. Now, I cannot go into too much detail about the Clifton Strengths, but the assessment indicates 34 talent themes. And once you completed the assessment or answered the questions, based on your answers, it provides the sequence of your 34 talent themes. And then you get 2 reports. You can either get a top 5 report, which indicates your core or your signature talent themes, or you can get a full 34 report indicating your 34 talents ranked in order. Now, your top 10 talents in that ranked order are your dominant talent themes. Then the next bunch is your supporting talents, then you get your lesser talents, and then you get your non-talents. And these talents are divided into 4 leadership domains. So the 4 leadership domains just indicates where you are most dominant. It's not saying that's the color you are, because it's also linked to specific colors. But those 4 leadership domains are executing. So people with the executing talents, they like to make things happen. And then you get the talents called strategic thinking. They like to absorb and analyze information so that we can make better decisions. And then there are relationship building talents. They have the ability to build strong relationships, and they can keep teams together. And then the last domain is called the influencing leadership domain. Those talents like to take charge of things. They like to speak up. They want to make sure people are heard. And Alma, I often get this question, can I develop new talents? And the answer is no. People say, yeah, but if I spend enough time and energy, I educate and train myself, can my number 32 talent become my 10th talent or my 2nd talent? And the answer is no. And I like to explain it in this way. Imagine, look at yourself. When you were born, you had a specific eye color, you had a specific hair color, you had a specific nose form. And I know nowadays you can change the color of your hair or put in contact lenses. So that is not something you can just change naturally. Or you can put contact lenses in the in your eyes. So the way you are naturally formed is the way your brain has been formed naturally. So I see we don't have to poll questions yet. We will probably put it on a bit later, because I would love to share the statistics and how you answer the questions. But what I want to say lastly, Alma, and we can continue with the conversation, is you can develop your talents into strengths. That's what you can do, and that is what makes you unique and distinguish you from other people. So Alma, that is just in a nutshell what Clifton Strengths is about. And for me, I've been acquainted with it for many years, and it really changed a lot of people's lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Carla. And I guess my next question is, that tells us about our strengths. What about our weaknesses?
Thanks, Alma. Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. And Gwendoline also asked that in the chat group. What I think I'm going to do here, it's a little out of place. So sorry, Alma, I did warn you that I'm not very structured. So you're going to have to go with me on this one. I don't have those structured strengths, but people have learned to love me for it. So at least that's true. Gwendoline, you also posted many questions on the chat group before we got to today, and even I think it literally went live when you started posting questions. So what I'm going to do, so Gwendoline, I think that 4,000 Rand strength journey should go to you. So you must please give us your details as well, so that we can get in touch with you. Carla will personally coach you, and you will complete the full 34 Strength Finder assessment. That's on its own 1,000 Rand. So Gwendoline, if you can make sure that we get your details, we will be in touch with you. But just on your question of weaknesses. So I guess we need to start to define what is a weakness, because I think people have very different definitions of what it is. And for me and Gallup, and the people that have done the research, says that a weakness is anything that gets in the way of you achieving success. Okay, so there's really nice tools and tips that we can share with you to try and overcome these. Like Carla said, your weakness will never become your strength. No matter how much time you apply or exercise or train on it, it will never become your strength. And when I started with Carla many years ago, when she appointed me and then I appointed her, it was very funny. One of the examples she used to use was that if you have a natural talent and ability to play piano, there's some people that can just do it naturally. They don't even read the notes. They have this ability to listen and play. Even if you don't have the talent to do that, and you practice every single day for 5 hours, you will never become as good as that person who has the ability to do it naturally when they apply the same amount of time and effort in it. So instead of making it theoretical, we're going to make it practical for you. And I'm going to invite Fransha to this part of the conversation. Fransha has started an incredible tech company, and we've been very privileged to work very closely with Fransha from a Momentum Investments perspective. But every single person have weaknesses. Okay, there's no one person that's unique and that has it all figured out. That are also discovered in the heart, in a difficult way. So Fransha started a business. Well, recently is probably relative in COVID. And I would like Fransha to share how he overcame the weaknesses that he had to build this incredible tech company. Because from the side, it only looked like it happened and everything fell into place. And Fransha has that variety of 34 talents that he brought to the table to put this amazing company in place. So Fransha, if you don't mind sharing how you overcame your weaknesses to build this amazing business you've got.
Sure. Thank you, Des. I believe what you're saying is so true, guys. You can't be good at everything. And I had to overcome a few challenges to get where I am now. And it's going to be the same for everybody on this call. So I started the Insight with Carla. As you can see, Carla is quite central to the whole conversation today and has had a massive impact on all of us and many other people who aren't on this call. But there were some really valuable lessons that I learned around my strengths and my talents, especially when they don't come that natural to you. You know, your first assumption, the first thing you want to do is especially if you're like me, you want to be good at everything. And so the first thing, Des, that came to mind was around training and upskilling and gaining that insight. And that happened through a continuous process of learning, but started with a journey with Carla. So getting a coach, gaining some insight, learning about myself. You guys, if you listen to Carla now, she mentioned that there are these 4 domains. And 1 in 33 million, that's an amazing statistic. So I've got quite a weird combo. My top 5 are all in the strategic domain. And so that in itself posed a lot of challenges. So firstly, I had to understand it. I had to gain that insight and that knowledge, especially on the other 3 domains that don't come that natural to me as a human. Secondly, I want to urge you to try and put a system in place. So let me give you an example. I'm more strategic than structured. And so creating structure and prioritizing my world of work isn't something that comes natural to me. And so instead of fighting it and trying to develop something, like Carla said, changing my hair to black is going to be really difficult. I don't think my wife is going to like that. But so the point is not to try and do that, but to rather get a system in place to assist you. So work with apps. There are amazing technology out there, you know. Getting an app in place to help me be more structured. I have a diary, I have a to-do list, I have multiple calendars. I'm very fortunate to have a PA, and this helps me in the structure because my mind is more strategic. So that's another tip. Then there is this amazing thing when you start combining your strengths, when you leverage the one off the other. And so again, you first need to gain that insight and understanding around what your strengths are, but then from there to develop the ability to leverage them together. So for example, I like to use my strategic and my futuristic together. So the futuristic helps me to look into the future, connect the dots, see something that might seem like they don't connect, and then connect those dots. But then together with that, add the strategy component as to how to get to this future I'm seeing. So starting a business in COVID was probably crazy to do, but I saw something there and then leveraged off the other strengths that I had. But together with that, you also need to understand that there is the opportunity for you to partner with someone who's got a talent that you don't necessarily have. So again, let me share from our business. Empathy is something that doesn't come that natural to me. In fact, it is my second last one on the list. But of course, we have employees at WAMNI. And so I had to partner with my colleagues who do have empathy, so to help me recognize when certain scenarios come up where empathy is needed. And so again, not to try and develop that and develop all 36, but rather to partner with someone who has got that talent, and that then just contributes and gives it a holistic approach in terms of our leadership style. I hope that makes sense, guys.
No, it definitely makes sense. I think to put it even in a practical perspective, as I'm listening to you, I can literally see how I've sort of unknowingly managed to move my talent from a talent to a futuristic strength. I mean, first of all, I had the talent in speaking. I like talking. I turned it into a strength by getting trained. I turned it into a strategic strength by getting a degree in it. And I turned it into a futuristic strength by launching a business that trains public speakers. So just to be able to visualize it and to put it into that little, yeah, no, that's great. And so before we, no, not before we talk about that, but yes, so you were talking about partnering with someone who has a talent, and how this is great to be able to improve the platform that you currently have. But what does this actually mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So firstly, the most important piece I want you to start to think about is the self-awareness, gaining the knowledge around your talents. And then secondly, understanding how to apply them effectively. So the more effective you can apply them, the more effective you are. And so knowledge into the self is extremely powerful. From there, don't try and copy. So I love Daisy's introduction. She said earlier, when she was a student, I can just see Daisy sitting there, figuring out what everybody's doing and then trying to copy that and expecting the same outcome. And that's not the reality. That's not how it works. So don't try and copy someone, and then apply your own strengths. So great employees spend most of the time doing what they're good at. So if you think of energy, you are going to be spending more time on the things that give you energy. And if you do that consistently, as Carla mentioned, then you will become better at it. But if you try and be good at everything, you're not going to be good at anything. So we all know there's the jack of all trades, the master of none. Oh, Des looks frozen.
All right. Well,
Gotta love
is Des still frozen?
Okay, cool.
Okay, you're back. Awesome.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sure.
So your connection is just a little
You
bit
know,
shaky.
when it goes, you never know if it's you. Now everybody's frozen.
Sorry,
There you
Des,
go.
your connection is bad.
Are we in? We're back. See, I can. Okay, Alma, can you hear me? Let me just double check
Awesome, now we can
connections
hear you.
here,
You're back.
people.
Yes, we can hear you now.
You can hear me. Okay, cool. I'm just check. Now everybody's frozen. Okay, cool. Everybody can hear me. Okay, cool. So, Simone, I want to comment on one of your comments that you made. You said somebody once told you something and it impacted you significantly. I've got somebody here that's sitting here at my table behind me, and I'm going to share her story. She worked a month ago that when she went for her first interview in HR, somebody said to her, she's not a typical HR person and she will never be able to work in HR. And then she decided to start a career in IT, which is quite diverse for a human capital person. She then started selling IT solutions. Alma, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay, cool. Now, because you guys are frozen, then I never know if you can hear me. So what she then did, she decided to start a career in IT, and today.
Okay, we can't hear you anymore, Desiree.
Sure. So guys, one of the strengths that we all need is adaptability in times like these.
Alma?
Now
Yes,
you're back.
you are back. I can hear you and I can see you.
I am, guys, so I'm going to ask one of my team members to maybe just upstairs to see if a signal. Team members to maybe just upstairs.
Unfortunately,
Many of us
Desiree,
can't afford to pay $1,000. Are you losing me again? Okay, what I'm going to do, move around. Let me move around. Alma, can you guys hear me better now?
yes, we can hear you perfectly now.
No, I am winging it as we go, yeah?
All right, let's try it this
I am
time.
great. The strength. Okay, it's better. Okay, fantastic. So, guys, I just, yeah, upstairs to see if it's not.
I'm so sorry, Desiree, to break your heart. But we could hear you perfectly. And then as soon as you
R1,000
started
string
talking
finder
again,
assessment. That's the reality.
we
I
lost
only
you.
was privileged enough to do it. Let me just quickly see here. I'm going to move again and go and do a show of my home today. Like, welcome to my home. If this is better.
Funny enough, we can hear you perfectly when you're walking around.
Okay.
So
Okay, cool. Maybe I must just walk around then. I can also steps for my multiply status. So not all of us can afford to do R1,000 multiply. You see, multiply R1,000 strength finder assessment. And the tips that I got was that the things that gives you energy are usually your strengths, and the things that drains your energy are the things that you are naturally not good at. So if you have a little book, go and buy a cheap book and keep a record of those things that give you energy and those things that drain your energy. In that, you would definitely be able to discover what your strengths are. What we will do, and I'm going to ask Carla to help me with that, after this session, maybe on our booth, so you guys can go and like our booth a little bit, we can put the descriptors of the 34 different strengths from Strength Finder and from Gallup that you can then go and associate. Well, I like doing this. Oh, this is what it's called, and this is how it works. So we will share some of that on our booth during the course of today. Yeah, thanks, Alma.
awesome. Thanks for that, Desiree. And I think since you mentioned it's either Simone or Simone, I'm not sure. Since she did make mention of her comment, am I right in saying that she has won something?
Let's give it away. Drum
Let's
roll.
give it away. Awesome.
We'll send it to the movies.
Let's send her to the movies. But let's not give her 1 ticket. Let's give her 10.
That's it. So you can take your whole family, Simone.
Awesome. So Simone just won herself 10 tickets to the movies. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't forget about me. So in the next section, please do post your questions regarding interviews that you might have, whilst the 3 experts help us navigate the maze of a success interview. So Francois, you built this amazing tech company that empowers companies to save time on sitting in interviews the whole day. Please tell us about this.
Yeah, Alma, so we believe that the world has moved away from traditional processes, especially if you consider the domain of recruitment and selection. There is a need to revamp, to reimagine, to disrupt, if you want to call it that. And that is exactly what we set out to do. So WAMLY, it stands for Help You Create a Work Family. WAMLY, quite quirky. Thank you. WAMLY is South Africa's largest one-way video interview solution. So just to clarify that, for all the English-speaking, highly proficient English-speaking attendees, asynchronous is the word you want to go with. But basically what we're doing right now is two-way. So Zoom, Teams, Wova, it's all two-way. WAMLY, however, is a one-way video interview solution. So the idea is to save time, create efficiency. So without having line managers to sit in redundant hour-long interviews every single day, and these days on Zoom, we build technology that allows you to have the technology facilitate the entire interview process without you having to be present in the actual interview. And through that, we are creating more efficient ways to hire and especially screen through candidates so that you can spend the right time with your top candidates in a face-to-face or two-way interaction.
Thanks for bringing that up, Francois. I think the one thing that graduates can all relate to is the fact that we are trying to build our interview skills, because we know that in future, every single time that we need to be interviewed, we're always asking, how do we make ourselves stand out? How do we answer questions like, for example, what is your weakness? That's always a question that puts me a bit on edge. Do I really say my weakness, or do I design my strength to sound like a weakness and work in my advantage? So Des, you told me that your business implemented WAMLY as a solution. How does it work and what do you look for? And having just learned about focusing on your strengths, how do you bring that into your interview to land the job that you applied for?
Awesome. So what I'm quickly going to just do before I go, Alma, Peter in the background helping us navigate this. Can you maybe just add Lindsay as a panelist so that if my signal keeps on dropping, I'm just going to hop onto her computer. Okay, cool. So let me start with a story, Alma. Many years ago, I had to join a team as a HR executive, and my instruction was, I was still very young and not really knew what was right and what was wrong. But I was asked to restructure a team as I came into the team, and every single person in the team had to reapply for their jobs. That meant that I needed to interview all of them again. But as I like to know my customers, I did a little bit of research around every single person that I was going to interview. And in the interview, this lady showed up and big hand gestures and very energetic. And she was talking fast and she was lively. But in the research that I did on her and understanding who the team was that I would find there, what I heard was she was very reserved, very quiet, but she got the job done. So at the end of the interview, I said to her, I'm very curious to understand what she's heard about me, because you build up a reputation in a company if you are there for 8 years. And her answer to me was, Des, I heard that you are energetic and you only appoint energetic people. So she really tried to mimic what she thought I would want her to be. And I guess that's my first step, is to say that don't mimic somebody else. Don't say or do what you think other people want you to do, because you would only be able to fake it that long. So I can also tell you, shortly thereafter, that energy faded quite quickly, and she became her reserved self, and I loved her for just being who she was. So the first thing is to be authentic. I saw Hayla also posted that in a comment to say that be honest. In Hayla's interview, literally I took her for coffee, and I can remember what she was wearing on the day, because she kept on telling me all the things she couldn't do. She couldn't do this, and she couldn't do that, and she couldn't do this. And right at the end of the interview, I said to her, okay, cool, but what can you do? And yes, well, she's part of my team today. So authenticity does count for something. You can only fake it that long. So even if you get through your first or second interview, even if you are employed, you're going to run into trouble. So Wamley is set up in such a way that we can ask a number of questions before we meet people face to face. So if we get from 300 to 1,000 applications for a role, it just allows us the time to get to know people a little bit so that we can evaluate for fit. So for me, to employ for fit and culture is more important than skill oftentimes, because you can appoint the most skilled person in the world. If they don't fit your culture, they're going to run into trouble. So culture fit is critically important. As I said, don't try to be somebody else. You can only fake it that long. Yeah, so the two things or the three things that I really like when I interview people is know who you are being interviewed by. So when you are being invited for an interview, understand who's on the panel. So I was so impressed with a student that I interviewed a while ago that sort of said, Des, I like this experience that you brought in when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, when you did this or when you did that. And I was so impressed by the fact that she really tried to go and understand who she was being interviewed with or for. And she did this with all the panelists, which was great. Then the second thing is know a little bit about the employer that you are interviewing for. I don't want people to apply for a job in Momentum Investments if they don't really by heart and soul want to work there. It's not just because they want to land a job. It's because they are so passionate about our brand. Their blood is red. They want to work for the big M, and they really, truly want to impact the world and relate to our values and to our culture. Yeah, and then the last thing is it's practical, but if you get asked a question in an interview, also try and justify or support that with an example. So if you say you've got experience in X, or you've got this amazing skill or strength, always back it up with an example that is practical, that people can see that you've actually got it. And it doesn't have to be a work-related example. It can be at university, I did this. At home, I play this role. So just make it practical so that people can actually see that you've got it. Yeah, Alma, that's some of my tips. I think Francois, who developed an entire system on interviews, can probably tell you a little bit more.
Definitely. Before I hand over to you, Francois, I just wanted to say to encourage everyone to make sure that you have put in your answers for the polls, because as soon as Francois is done, Carla is going to just look at those results and give us a little bit of a comment. So, Francois, I have heard that Marnus Brooke, I hope I said that properly, one of Shark Tank's investors. Now, if you haven't heard of Shark Tank, you're missing out. It's an incredible investment group, is your partner at Wamley. And when he saw the application and dream, he just bought into it, which is incredible. So having developed an application to do online interviews, what would be your biggest tips for interviews?
Yeah, thanks, Alma. So guys, I am conscious of our time in the session. So let me jump straight into that and not comment too much. If you want to go and Google Marnus Broodryk or Shark Tank or read his incredible book, 90 Rules for Successful Entrepreneurs, you are very welcome to do that. So just some tips from my side, do's and don'ts. And as I go along, I'll try and share some practical examples and stories. So interviews, you guys, and I've seen many comments and posts in the chat box around entering the world of work, graduate programs, etc. Some of you might have not been for interviews yet or will very soon be going into that and might be on a technology such as Wamley. which is one way. So some tips from my side when you attempt interviews, do's. I think most importantly, especially when it's on technology, is prepare like it is an actual interview. So whether this is on Wamley or whether this is on Zoom or Teams or Woba or whatever the case might be, face-to-face, you know, make sure you're prepared. Des mentioned know the brand. Make sure that you understand the requirements of the role. And then lastly, make sure that you understand yourself. I think authenticity is the most important key here. I once heard someone say the most lies being told is in an interview. Okay, so be super authentic and prepare well. Secondly, ensure that the room you're in is conducive for a recording or an interview or a virtual interview. Don't have distractions around you. We've seen many weird and funny videos on Wamley. People lying on their beds, people lying on their back, people not having all their clothes on. So we've had quite a chuckle. But realistically, if you think about it, the raters and the panel members are going to see that. And that already says something about you. So make sure that, that your environment is conducive. I think when completing a recording interview like Wamley, make sure that you read. You know, we assume, Alma, that people read, but very often they don't. And so we get phone calls saying, thank you so much for the invite. When can I come in for my interview? And then we go, no, this is online. You know, read. So that's really important. If you're nervous, breathe. Nerves can be, and if you have a session with someone like Carla in your career and in your life, you know, focus on understanding why I'm nervous, where this comes from, and how I can leverage and channel that energy, because ultimately nerves is energy that you can use. Give the best version of yourself. Back to Hayla's comments around being authentic. I think too often we try and be like someone else, and then that's very easy for the panel to recognize, and then you're actually putting yourself at a disadvantage. So just be super honest, be authentic, be who you are, and then give the best version of yourself. And then, you know, very often, Alma, we get posed questions and we believe we need to give this perfect answer, you know, the Google or the textbook answer. And in fact, most of the time, guys, panel members and executives like Desiree are actually looking for the way you think as opposed to the perfect answer. So when you answer, have the guts to say, I don't know, or at least try and give them an idea of your chain of thoughts. And then from there, you know, again, the authenticity will come through, and that'll help you a lot. I think lastly, from a do's perspective, be honest. If you don't know, you don't know. As I just said, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know, I'll go and find out, I'll email it to you, I'll come back to you with an answer, because again, that is already telling the panel something. You know, it's not about this, but it's about that, and telling them something about you. Okay, what should we not do? Okay, don't talk too much and give these long-winded answers. Okay, so when someone asks you, tell me a bit about yourself, let's rather not go right down to primary school, matric farewell. Let's skip the rage stories. Give them the information that they can use to understand if you meet the requirements of the role, because ultimately that's the interview. The interview is to understand yourself in relation to the requirements of the position, so that the panel can be in a good position to understand if you will be successful in the job. Secondly, don't move around too much, especially if it's a recording like with Wamley. It can create some distraction. So, you know, basic manners, you know, look at the camera like I'm doing right now. Even though it feels a bit awkward, I guess over the last year, we've become quite accustomed to technology. And as Des has shown us this morning, to be quite adaptable when the technology is not working that perfectly. And then lastly, try and not repeat yourself. If you've said it, you've said it. If it's good, it's a good answer. Unless it's something that you really want to repeat, then, you know, tell the panel why, but don't try and repeat yourself to create more of an answer than what the answer is. Okay, Alma, I hope that helps. Guys, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, do's and don'ts.
Thanks, Francois. That makes quite a lot of sense. I think what we need to understand as well is that we are not regurgitating our CVs in an interview. That's not what an interview is for. Like you said, you're trying to match your achievement to the requirements of the role. So telling us that you are the captain of the netball team in primary school, how is that applicable to the role? And so I think it's very important, that point. So Carla, could you summarize for us how to bring your strengths to your interview and the workplace, and what would you advise, and what advice rather would you give the attendees? And just before you give us that advice, just some results from the poll. Question 1, I know my true strengths. 59% of those who are here said yes, they do, and 42% of the people said that they don't. Question 2, I know how to use my strengths. 44% said yes, and 56% said no. And lastly, the opportunity I have to use my strengths is once a week, at least once a day, and more than 50% of the day. So for once a week, 36% of people agreed with that. At least once a day, 38% of people, and more than 50% of the day, only 26% feel that they are using their strengths for more than 50% of the day. Over to you, Carla.
Thank you, Alma. And that is a reality. Only 54% or 56% people know their true strengths. So to answer your question, the first thing is, in order for us to share our strengths, we need to know our strengths. It should not be a list of strengths from Google. I'm a team player. I am a go-getter. I love solving problems. What does that mean? So make sure you know your strengths, and then secondly, be specific with your strengths. If they ask you in an interview a question about numbers and you say, yeah, I like to work with numbers, that's a bit vague. But if you say, you know what, I like to work with data, with graphs, with figures, and I enjoy analyzing information so that we can make strategic decisions of the highest quality, and data sets you free. And it's like Desiree said, the Clifton Strengths provides us with wonderful explanations of your strengths. So we will definitely share that. And if you ever get the opportunity to do your Clifton Strengths, that's first prize. But like Desiree said, there's different ways of what gives us energy, what makes us unique. Now, the most important thing, like I said, is be specific. And like Francois said in the interview questions, is give practical examples. And another thing is be aware of your weaknesses. So if they do ask you this question, what are your weaknesses? Share with them your weaknesses, but also share with them what you did to manage your weaknesses. Like Francois explained, he's managing his weaknesses. So the people will know you know yourself, and they know what you put in place to overcome that weaknesses. So Alma, that's in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for that, Carla. And whilst we are going through, like I said, this is probably the most active chat room and most active Q&A that I've ever seen. The questions are just running through, and I'm literally grabbing names as they go up. So at this point, I just want to offer 3 people some Wambly interviews for the great comments and questions that they've been making throughout the session. So first up, we've got Sibongiseni Mwashu. Apologies if I'm butchering your names. I'm working on it. Then we have Leti Manzini and Mvelo Novo. So you guys have won yourselves some Wambly interviews where you will be critiqued and get some pointers that will prepare you for your next real interview. So now that we know and understand our strengths, how do we approach an interview? You know, how do you bring in your A game when you land the job? And that's for you, Des.
Awesome. Thank you, Alma. So I just wanted to add, so I mean, between myself and Francois and Carla, we will personally critique or comment on those 3 interviews because I think it's important to understand what you're doing right and what you're doing well, and then also where you can improve. So, I mean, those are great prizes. So well done to those teams. So I think all of you are in such an exciting place starting your careers, or maybe just started a job or looking for a job at the moment. And I can remember it was a terrifying experience for me starting to look for opportunities and for jobs. And I think now that you understand that you need to bring who you are to the table, there's some practical tips I want to give you to help you when you start your job, that you can remember that will maybe set you up for success a little bit more than the person sitting next to you. So remember, every single employer is different, but what you bring to the table is unique to you, and you can apply this at any employer, no matter where you work and in which industry you work. So for me, your degree is a ticket into the game only. Okay, so Alma is busy with her third qualification at the moment, and for her, that's a ticket in. So it's a piece of paper that's going to set you up for success. But what differentiates you is when you know the industry you work in, you know your competitors, the latest developments in that industry specifically, and the challenges that industry face. The better enabled and equipped you are to know, the better you'll be able to be in your job and in the business that you work in. The second tip is, during my career, I've been asked many questions, and I think I always give myself a little star when I can answer it correctly. In the moment, there on the spot, then your boss can go, yes, well done, Des, you did a great job. I think what makes a great employee is when you start preempting what your employer will be asking you. I've had youngsters in my team that will go, Des, you're busy with this project. I did this piece of research for you. I think it can add value. And I'm always so amazed when they can preempt what is needed before I even ask for it. Then I think mistakes are part of learning. Okay. My biggest learnings in my career to date has come from messing things up royally. Okay, so the only thing that you need to remember when you make a mistake is to own up to them. Oftentimes we want to hide them, we want to, act as if it didn't happen. As soon as they happen, own up to them, and if you can fix them, fix them. Don't cover them up, because they will come out at some point in time. Then training. I think many people expect their leaders to be the drivers of training. So, Des, which training course are you going to send me on? Which courses is available for me to attend? Training is not my problem. Training is your problem. Okay, you need to decide what things you want to do to develop and grow yourself so that you can be better equipped to do what you need to do best. My advice would be to never to stop learning, because you will never know everything. So if your employer doesn't pay for your training, find a cheap enough training course that you can pay for yourself, but never stop learning. Okay? And then anybody can do what they are told. But it's about those people who are proactive to solving problems that's within their ability to solve that makes a really big difference. And that's ultimately what you want to do. So if there's a process that's not working and people are struggling with a process, start documenting that process so that you can share it with your team, that everybody can benefit from it. Then at some point in time in your career and in your life, you will need somebody else. You will not be able to do everything yourself ever. That's why I've got friends like Carla and like Francois by my side. And when you've got those relationships in place, it helps you when you need to pull on those people. So when your leader says, I need to do this, you can go, well, I already know somebody that can help us with that. That always is very positive. So be intentional about building relationships in your business, but also outside of your business, and continue to network, even if it's on LinkedIn. Okay, and then it's easy to fall track to your emotions, especially in corporate. It's stress, there's a million things going on. Don't fall track to your emotions. If you need to get up, take a deep breath, walk around the block, do that. But stay calm and collected, because then only can you do your best work. Okay, surround yourself with the right people. I think oftentimes I see the most talented professionals that has a very bright future, and they get involved with the wrong people, or they are influenced in a negative way. Make sure that you recognize when that happens to you and move on from those people. Sometimes things will get tough. It's not the easiest answer to jump ship, okay? So make sure that you see the storm through, because in that you build character, and in that you make yourself better for the future person that you are meant to be. And then never, ever, ever, ever stop dreaming. I think oftentimes in corporate, you stop to dream big because you think it's not doable. Now, I can tell you, I've got 12 people in my team and they all dream very big. It's not always possible to implement everything. So be realistic about implementing your dreams, but never stop dreaming. Never stop hoping for what the future can be. and share your dreams and your hope. Somewhere, somebody will cross your path that's going to help you realize those dreams. Yeah, Alma. And then last point of advice for me is work harder than anybody else. Success has never come from not working hard. That saying about don't work hard, work smart, I don't like that saying very much because it's not true. Work hard, but also work smart. So work harder than anybody. Put in the hours if you need to put in the hours, but make sure that you set yourself apart and that you are the person that your leader or your team can always depend on. That's it, Alma.
Thank you so much, Des. What an inspiring and insightful piece of information that you've given everyone here today. Especially, I love the part where you say never stop dreaming and keep daring to dream. Unfortunately, we have gone a little bit over time. So I'm just going to ask you, Des, I know you have one more sentence that you would like to tell everyone as we close the session today.
Awesome. Yeah, just thank you very much to everybody that attended. Alma, thank you. You were amazing. We are very happy that you facilitated our session. Thank you to Carla and Francois, and thank you just to all the students that attended. I really hope that you can take something away. And my favorite saying is don't wait for opportunities. Create it. So go out there and create opportunities. And Alma, if you can just share lastly that 2,000 Rand investment, how are we going to give it away?
Awesome. So because momentum is the gift that just keeps on giving, today they're going to be giving away a 2,000 Rand investment. And to win this, we want to see some social media action. So this very same energy that you've had in the chat and in the Q&A, we want to see it on social media. Tag our 3 speakers in the post on LinkedIn, and we'll pick the best post by the end of today. So let us know what you learned from the session, what was your favorite standout point, hashtag or quote from the session, and we will pick the best one, and we will be handing out a 2,000 Rand giveaway. Also, we do need the contact details of the winners. So please do make sure that you are giving I think you can put it in, no, don't put it in the chat. If you could send it to one of the speakers, your contact details for all of those who have won something today. So thank you so much for attending this incredible session with me, Alma, and my new friends from Momentum Investments, Wamley, and Finding Solutions. Now, remember that GradStar will be giving away a YWay Watch Fit, a 500 Rand Nando's voucher, and 100 Future Fit investments for those who stand out in the GradStar session taking place tomorrow. That will be the final session. And straight after the session at 10:30, we've got SA Taxi Workshop, and they're going to be talking about driving your career forward. And we're ending the day off today with the Toyota workshop. So make sure you are there. It's been a great session. I've got so much that I've learned. I'm definitely going to come back and watch this session again. Thank you all for attending. Have a lovely day forward and keep participating in Careers Week.